National Prosecuting Authority is still considering all their options regarding the 6-year jail term for murder afforded to Oscar Pistorius today. NPA has confirmed that they have not decided on the way forward as yet. The authority says that they are looking at all available options before making a decision. And joining us on the line now is NPA spokesperson Bulelwa Magege. Thanks so much for your time, Bulelwa. Any other decisions that you're considering at this point as the National Prosecuting Authority? Hi, Bulelwa.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Speaking to Cindy at ANN 7 Prime. Just any way forward going for the NPA, what have you decided now after the sentencing regarding Oscar Pistorius?
Thank you, Cindy, for the opportunity. The NPA is still to decide whether, what steps to take next after the sentence. Look, it's a decision that cannot be taken lightly. It must not be seen as some kind of duel, where it's a give and take between the state and the defense. The prosecution has a responsibility to ensure that it presents its case in a way that will assist the court to come to a fair and just outcome. And I think in this case, you will all agree, because it was all on TV, that the prosecution team has actually done that above and beyond expectation. They've achieved their objective to have the conviction on culpable homicide overturned, for instance, to that of murder. And so at this point, we just think that there's a need for a bit more consideration, a careful consideration about what next. Do we really want to appeal? What are the implications if we do not appeal? Or then, if we do appeal, what are the implications as well? All of that.
Right, so, what would you have to consider? Would this then suggest, if you do decide to appeal, that you are dissatisfied with the judgment of Thokozile Masipa, in that you may find that it was flawed, or that there's room for a harsher penalty? What are you looking to achieve exactly?
In the bigger scheme of things, what must really resonate with everybody is that justice was served. And obviously, to the extent that the prosecutors have a role to play in that whole arrangement, we have to be sure that we've done our part. The prosecution has done its part. And therefore, if we just make a decision quickly because we didn't get what we argued for was at least the minimum sentence that's prescribed. Obviously, anything less than that is something that is not satisfactory to the NPA in terms of its own view of what should be the appropriate sentence. But, there's a whole lot of other factors that now must be considered before we make a decision whether or not to appeal.
So are you dissatisfied that the minimum of 15 years penalty was not afforded to Oscar? And if so, are you suggesting that the judge doesn't have the discretion to make a ruling, as in this case?
Not at all. We are accepting that the court made a decision within its discretion. We are also, it is obviously a very lenient sentence to what we're expecting. As you would have seen in terms of the arguments that the prosecution team made, they were actually arguing for a harsher sentence. So in saying that the judge did what she had to do, obviously she motivated all her reasons in her judgment, which is what we must also consider before we take our next move. But, we just everybody generally has a sense that, if the prescribed sentence was 15 years and then we end up with 6 years, there's a sense that maybe it's not where it should have been. But whether or not we decide to take it further or not, that's a decision that must still be discussed. It's not an easy decision to take now.
I appreciate that it's a very sensitive matter, but do you think that the NPA could have done over and above what was demonstrated through Harry Nell in court to then justify the 15 years minimum penalty?
No, I'm saying they did exactly that. They did over and above what was expected of them. They had very, very strong arguments in aggravation of sentence. Even throughout the whole trial, they made a very good case. The fact that we actually, in the first conviction, we took it to the Supreme Court of Appeal and we managed to get it overturned, that tells you that there were strong arguments that were in play here. But at this point now, we cannot just make a decision just after a sentence has been handed out. There's much more to consider. It has been a long haul. Is it in the interest of justice? Is, all those things that the state must now balance and make sure that the decision that it takes going forward is the best for the country, for the state, for justice as well.
How soon can we expect an announcement from the NPA?
Look, let's work on the premise that within 14 days, if we intend to appeal, we will have to make that application for leave to appeal. And if we don't, then also an announcement will be made in due course. But at this point, we don't have any specific timelines beyond those that are prescribed by the court processes.
Bulelo, thank you so much for your time. We're speaking to the National Prosecution Authority spokesperson, Bulelo Mageke, joining us on the line in their reaction and the way forward regarding the 6-year jail term afforded to Oscar Pistorius earlier today.